Every story you're about to hear happened on Christmas, and none of them were accidents.
These stories are based on real psychological crime patterns reported across the United States. Listen carefully.
Police never released this recording, not because it was violent, but because of how calm the voice was. I was told not to talk about this, not because it's classified, but because once you hear it, Christmas never sounds the same again. In the US, police collect thousands of recordings every year. 911 calls, body cams, voicemails. Most of them are forgotten. But one recording from December 2019 was different. Not because of screaming, not because of violence, because of how calm it was. This came out of a town called Ashfield Row, a place so quiet it barely registers outside its county. No major crimes, no media attention, until Christmas. Police didn't find a recording during the crime, they found it after. That's important, because the person who made it never intended for anyone to hear it in time. The house was isolated, but not remote. Close enough to neighbors, far enough to feel private. Inside lived one adult, no family, no roommates. In American crime psychology, this matters. Isolation creates rehearsal. Weeks before Christmas, the person began recording short audio notes. Nothing suspicious on the surface. Reflections, daily thoughts, background noise. But listening closely, something feels off. There's no emotion, just planning. Christmas was chosen deliberately because in the US, fewer people check in, fewer calls are returned, silence is expected. This wasn't depression, this was intent. On Christmas Eve night, a final recording was made. No music, no background noise, just a voice. Calm, measured, aware. The person speaks as if someone is listening, but no one was. They describe what they're about to do, not in detail, but with certainty. This is the disturbing part. They don't sound afraid. They don't sound angry. They sound relieved. Psychologists later said, this is what emotional detachment sounds like. There is a long pause in the recording, then a sound. Not loud, not violent, just a confirmation that something irreversible has happened. The recording continues for several minutes after. That's what made police lock it away. The body was discovered 2 days later. A welfare check. Routine. Expected. But the house didn't feel like a crime scene. It felt staged. Everything clean, everything intentional. When police found the recording device, they didn't listen immediately. They waited, because officers are trained to recognize one thing. When a criminal leaves a message, it's not for guilt, it's for control. The audio was reviewed by experts. Not all of it. Some parts were deemed psychologically harmful, ethically dangerous, inappropriate for public release. Not because of violence, because of clarity. The speaker understood exactly what they were doing, understood the consequences, and felt peace with it. That level of awareness is rare and terrifying. Police sealed the recording, not to protect the public, but to protect the idea that monsters are obvious. Every Christmas since then, someone in that department checks the evidence locker. The recording is still there, unplayed, because once you hear a crime explained calmly, without emotion, without regret, you realize something uncomfortable. Not all dangerous people are broken. Some are simply finished deciding.
And that's why this recording should never be heard, because it proves the scariest crimes don't sound like horror, they sound like certainty.
Children don't usually disappear on Christmas in this country. And when they do, it means something went wrong long before that night.
I need to warn you first, this is not a story about a missing child. This is a story about how an entire house failed to notice a crime while it was happening.
In the US, there is an unspoken rule. On Christmas Eve, nothing bad is supposed to happen. This took place in Larkspur Bend, a town so small it doesn't even show up on most maps. No crime reputation, no media attention, just families and routines. The house sat on a short cul-de-sac, only 5 homes. Everyone knew everyone. Inside the house were 2 adults, 1 child, and one assumption that would destroy everything. The assumption was simple. If something was wrong, we would hear it. That assumption is a lie. The child had never left the house alone, never wandered, never broken rules. American parents trust structure, bedtime routines, closed doors, familiar faces. That night, the child followed every rule. That's what makes this worse, because the crime didn't require the child to break a rule. The house was loud, music playing, kitchen noise, people moving around. In psychology, this is called auditory masking. It's how sound disappears inside safety.
Investigators later determined something terrifying. The child didn't scream, not because they couldn't, but because they didn't understand what was happening yet. That moment, confusion before fear, is where crimes hide. There was no forced exit, no open door, no broken window. Whatever happened began inside the house, and by the time fear would have made noise, it was already too late. That detail destroyed detectives, because it means the system failed silently. Police arrived fast. Search teams moved faster. But speed doesn't matter when time has already been stolen. Snow erased movement. Holiday traffic erased witnesses. Everyone remembered things differently. Christmas didn't slow the investigation. It erased it. Every hour that passed increased the worst possibility, and no one wanted to say it out loud. Days later, investigators found something small. Not evidence, not proof, a pattern. Someone in that house had known exactly when attention would be divided, when noise would cover sound, when trust would replace caution. That realization ended the search, because it meant the danger wasn't random. It was positioned. This case is rarely discussed, not because it's unsolved, but because it forces Americans to face something we hate admitting. Safety is often assumed, not earned. Familiarity is not protection. Every Christmas after that, the house stays empty. Lights never go up, music never plays, because some homes don't recover from silence. I'll end with what one investigator said, off the record. If the child had broken a rule, we might have noticed faster. Think about that. Doing everything right was what made the crime invisible. And that's the darkest part of this story. This wasn't a crime of anger. It was a decision made quietly, inside a family that looked normal. I've lived in this country my entire life, and I can tell you this: the scariest crimes in America don't come from strangers. They come from homes that look normal.
I'm gonna tell you about a house in North Cascara, a small, overlooked town in the upper Midwest. Not the kind of place you see on postcards. No tourists, no headlines.
just rows of similar houses and people who keep to themselves. That winter, December 2019, the code was different, heavier, the kind of makes sound disappear. The house I'm talking about sat at the end of a dead street, no streetlights directly in front of it, just darkness and snow. The family living there looked fine from the outside, but in America, we confuse quiet with healthy, and that's a mistake. A week before Christmas, I noticed something that still makes my stomach turn. Their Christmas lights stayed on all night, every night, not blinking, not festive, just on.
Here's something most people don't understand about American family crimes. They don't start with violence. They start with control fantasies. Inside that house, one person had been mentally disconnecting for months. No yelling, no abuse reports, no police visits. Just a growing belief that everyone depended on them, everyone trapped them, everyone would fall apart without them. That belief is deadly. Psychologists in the US call this collapse ownership. The idea that if you were breaking, everyone else must break too. Christmas accelerated it, because in this country, Christmas demands performance. Smile, eat together, pretend everything is fine. But some minds can't fake it anymore. They don't explode, they decide. The most disturbing part? The crime didn't begin on Christmas Eve. It began days earlier. Changes were made. Phone notifications silenced. Doors kept locked from the inside. Medications adjusted. Schedules altered. Everything slowed down. This wasn't rage. This was preparation. On Christmas Eve, dinner was served normally. No arguments, no chaos, no screaming. That's why no one heard anything. In American family murders, silence is not mercy, it's intention. The act itself was close, personal, controlled. Police later described it as methodical in a way that suggests emotional detachment. That's the phrase that stuck with me. Emotional detachment. After it was done, nothing changed. The TV kept playing, the tree stayed lit, the house stayed warm. In the US, during Christmas, that's normal. Nobody checks, nobody questions. That house sat like that for nearly 36 hours. Do you know how long that is? Long enough for neighbors to walk past? Long enough for snow to cover evidence? Long enough for a crime to settle into silence? When police finally entered, they didn't find chaos. They found stillness. That's worse. After everything, experts said something that still haunts me. They said, there were no warning signs people are trained to look for. Because America trains us to fear strangers. Not kitchens, not dinner tables, not holiday routines. This case changed how people in North Cascarras celebrate Christmas. Lights turn off earlier now. People check in more. Silence makes them uncomfortable. Because they learn something no one wants to accept. Sometimes Christmas doesn't cause the crime. It just gives the broken mind permission to finish it. And that's the most disturbing part of all. The killer didn't rush this. Christmas was chosen on purpose. This was not an accident. This was not a crime of emotion. This was a planned Christmas murder. The killer started preparing weeks before Christmas. In the United States, December is predictable. People travel, houses stay quiet, police departments are understaffed, neighbors mind their own business. The killer understood American routine better than police ever could. The town was in Pennsylvania, suburban, quiet, educated. Crime existed, but not violent crime. The victim lived alone. That mattered. From the very beginning, investigators later agreed on one thing. This crime could only happen on Christmas. Any other day, someone would have noticed. Any other night, someone would have heard something. But not Christmas. The killer knew the calendar, and they knew human behavior. That's what made this case terrifying.
The victim trusted routine. Same schedule, same grocery store, same parking spot. This is extremely common in the US. Routine feels safe. The killer studied that routine. Psychologically, this was predatory behavior. Watching patterns, not rushing, waiting for the perfect night. Christmas Eve was perfect. Why? Because Americans assume nobody commits crimes on Christmas. People are with family. Nothing bad happens tonight. That assumption is deadly. The killer didn't hate the victim. This wasn't rage. This was control. And control crimes are always quiet. The crime happened late on Christmas Eve. No forced entry, no neighbors alerted, no alarm triggered. Police later explained this clearly. The victim opened the door. That single sentence changed everything. Inside the house, Christmas decorations were untouched. Food was still out. The TV was on, which means the victim did not feel threatened. The attack was sudden, not loud, not chaotic. The killer didn't want noise. They wanted time. In many US homicide cases, the quiet ones are the most intentional. After the crime, the killer did not rush. They cleaned selectively, not perfectly, but enough. Then they left, and Christmas did the rest. For over 24 hours, nobody checked, nobody called, nobody worried. That's not negligence, that's Christmas.
When police finally entered the house, they knew immediately this wasn't random. The psychology was wrong. The silence was wrong. The timing was too perfect. But evidence was gone. Snow erased movement. Holiday traffic erased timelines. Witness memory was unreliable. Christmas protected the killer. The case went cold. Years later, detectives still believe the killer blended into normal holiday life, went back to family dinners, opened gifts, smiled for photos. That's the most disturbing part, because this case taught police a hard truth. The most dangerous criminals don't look dangerous. They look normal, especially on Christmas. And that's why, even today, many detectives say the same thing. If you want to disappear after a crime, do it on a holiday. This town thought silence meant safety. They were wrong.
December 24th, 2019. Christmas Eve. This story takes place in a small American town in the Midwest, the kind of place most people would describe as safe, low crime, quiet streets, tight-knit community. In towns like this, Christmas is not just a holiday, it is routine, tradition, and trust. That night, temperatures dropped below freezing. Snow covered sidewalks and driveways. Houses glowed with Christmas lights. Inside, families were watching holiday movies, drinking hot chocolate, and preparing for Christmas morning. Police dispatch logs later showed something unusual. Between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m., there were almost no emergency calls, no alarms, no domestic disturbances, no gunshots reported. It was silent. And that silence is exactly what made this crime possible. Because while the town slept, inside one house, a crime was unfolding so quietly that even the people living next door would hear nothing. By the time anyone realized something was wrong, Christmas had already passed.
The house was owned by a single American adult, late 30s, stable job, no criminal record, well liked by neighbors and coworkers. In American culture, especially in small towns, people like this are considered low risk. They follow routine, they show up to work, they decorate their house for Christmas. Neighbors later told police they were quiet, always polite, never caused problems. On Christmas Eve, the victim was last seen in the early evening. They returned home alone. No guests were expected, no parties planned. This detail matters because investigators later concluded that whoever entered that house was not a stranger. There were no broken doors, no forced windows, no signs of panic. In the US, especially during holidays, people often open their doors to friends, family, someone they trust. Christmas lowers suspicion. That trust would become fatal.
Sometime after midnight, the crime occurred. Police believe the victim let the person inside willingly. Inside the house, the Christmas tree was still on. Gifts were wrapped. The TV had been left on. Nothing looked disturbed. But appearances lie. Investigators later reconstructed what likely happened. There was no struggle. That suggests control, possibly surprise, possibly someone the victim did not fear. The method was quiet. No gunshots, no screaming. In American crime investigations, this kind of silence usually points to intent and planning. The killer did not rush. They did not panic. They took advantage of time. And Christmas provided that time. On Christmas Day, nobody checked on the victim. Why would they? In the US, Christmas Day is when people sleep in, visit relatives, leave town. Silence on Christmas is normal. The body remained undiscovered for hours. By the time police arrived the next evening, called in for a welfare check, the house had become something else entirely. Officers later said it didn't look like a crime scene. It looked like a home that had been paused. That detail haunted them.
The investigation revealed disturbing truths. Security cameras in the area were useless. Snow erased footprints, holiday traffic blurred timelines. Christmas didn't just hide the crime, it destroyed evidence. Police questioned everyone, but no solid suspect emerged. The killer had done one thing perfectly. They blended into the holiday. No arrests were made, no public suspect was named. The town never returned to normal. Every Christmas after that, people changed. Doors locked earlier, lights left on overnight, trust replaced with caution, because they learned something terrifying, that the most dangerous crimes don't always come with noise. Sometimes they come on the quietest night of the year, when everyone feels safe and nobody is watching.